Okay, so if I talk about like what we have covered, so basically we have covered four different chapters. Start with the introduction chapter, then we had a data model, then process model, and now we are in UI module chapter. So if I talk about the introduction chapter, we had a very basic understanding about this chapter about MDG, like if I quickly sum up, like what about MDG? What are those different domains we deal with? And then how the basic architecture look like what is the input, what is the output, where MDG stands, then what type of different master data we have, along with the transactional record, reference data, reporting data, etc. Then we have MDG capabilities like replication, import, consolidation, data quality, reusability, data validations, etc. Then we have the total architecture overview, including source and destination, and whatever we have in MDG under the data governance. Then we have talked about like how the data travel, like from requester to verifier, verifier to approver, and then finally how the data activate and store in the MDG side. So this is the high level architecture details. Then we have a very detailed understanding about material master, then customer master. So each domain we have talked about how it look like and how we deal with different domain as far as MDG is concerned. Then we had a few understanding about RFP, what kind of questions usually asked by uh, customer, uh, and then how we need to deal with. So these are all like a set of questions we talked about. Uh, and then we had a discussion with different type of deployment methods or recommendations like hub-based and co-deployment. And then we talked about the single workflow, parallel workflow, the difference with the architectural details. And then we had a discussion with the out-of-box configurations. So this is about a brief regarding the first chapter. Then in the data model, basically, we talked about what is data model, what is entity, entity type, relationship, etc. And then we have three different scenarios like custom data model, a standard data model, and enhancement. For custom data model, we created the data model from scratch with a example of airline processing, and then we had a standard data model, and then we enhanced those standard data model with the attribute, entity types, relationships, etc. Then custom data model. So these are all things was part of our custom data model. And then during creation of this or this discussion about the data model, we also talked about the storage type. So we have four different storage type, and we also talked about like when the storage type will be used and what are those factors we need to keep in mind. Then the different type of relationships. So with example, we talked about different relationships. Then cardinality, and then we talked about the active and staging area. Okay. For which case, so whenever we talked about the active and staging area, we also talked about the reuse mode and flex mode. And also we talked about like when in which case we will be use the reuse mode and which case we will be use the flex mode. And we had a detailed discussion about reuse mode and flex mode with the necessary configurations. So in standard data model, we had a MM. BP, and finance. Then we talked about the access class. So what is the significance of the access class? What exactly access class help in the framework? When we can be use the access class? Some architectural design we also talked about. Then flex mode, reuse mode. This is one diagram. And then we also talked about like how to add the custom attribute in the data model, how to add the custom entity types in the data model. We talked about the Genil model for business partner, including ERP vendor and ERP customer. And then we talked about CVI, customer vendor integration. So that we we have discussed. So that is related to the data model. Now coming to the process model. So in process model, we talked about like what is process model, like create, change, mark for deletion, etc. Then in this process model, we have three understanding like business activity, change request type, and change request. And when what is the significance of business activity, what is the significance of change request type, and then how to deal with this change request. Then how to capture them for supplier, for customer, for material, for different domain. We talked about how to deal with the different business activity. Then change request type as well. And this is what change request look like. And then we talked about the backend tables of change request. So we have some backend table like change request table, priority table, user table, status table, CR type, uh, uh, then some description tables, etc. And then we talked about basically the activate type linkage we haven't discussed because it is required the UI part to understand. So we just park it for now. And whenever we complete the UI, we will come back and talk about this. So then in the UI, we talked about like what is FPM because since MDG 6.1 version, MDG come up with FPM. However, like if you see MDG S4 HANA, then it is having both the uses of NetWeaver Business Client and as well as Fiori. So Fiori, we have a different discussion. So I'm not going to talk about this because not all the projects are using, but yes, slowly we all have to move to the Fiori because S4 HANA demands the Fiori. Yes. So that's what we will have a separate discussion for that. Then we also talked about the advantages of FPM. What is the advantages we have? Then we talked about the different configurations like object instance floor plan, how it looked like, then guided activity floor plan. Then we talked about overview plan. Okay, so three different type of configurations, UI configurations. Then we also talked about the deep copy enhancement, uh, like what is the advantage and disadvantage of deep copy and what is the advantage and disadvantage of enhancement. So this is how it looked like. We also talked about the context-based adaptation. What is the advantage of it? And today we also see that how we deal with context-based adaptation. Then we talked about the customizing component when the customizing component is required. Then we talked about enhancement, and we have seen that how we deal with deep copy, enhancement, and customizing components. Okay. And also we created last week regarding the uh, custom in the custom data model, whatever the custom entity type attribute we have created for airline process, those details we incorporate on UI last week. And we have seen the execution that how the custom UI works. Uh, Even we have seen like when we submit the details, it is going to the staging table, and from staging table how it look like. So all those details we have seen. Now today the focus is regarding the standard and enhancement. Okay, so standard UI is something which is obviously provided by SAP. There is no doubt about it. Like we have a standard structure available from SAP. Mm, this is and so right now I'm in triple nine client, which is our S4 HANA instance. Okay, so if I go to uh, MDG ING general settings, UI model, and manage UI configuration. Let me open with Chrome because Internet Explorer is very slow. Okay, so this is the whole list. So in previous session last week we talked about this USMD entity value 2, which we used for the custom case for UI application. Now if you go down, uh, if you scroll down, and you can see based on the different data model, we have a different UI application and UI configuration detail. Okay, so like for an example, cost center. So this is the UI application for cost center. This is cost center group. This is company. This is the CO account, the FI account. So these are all different UI application available, and these are all it's like a template for us. So we can utilize this template and make it customized according to our needs. Similarly, for business partner, we have business partner for customer, for supplier. So different type of UI applications. Then if I go down for material, then we have material related UI. So these are all standard UIs. Okay. Now, in the previous session also we were telling that however we have different type of FPM configuration like object instance floor plan, but the guided activity floor plan, but mainly we will be dealing with OBP because most of the UIDB which sorry Most of the UI configuration which you see, that is nothing but the OVP. OVP is nothing but overview page. Okay. So now, what we have to do? Let's start with one enhancement. Okay, because anyway, like any project, if you see that nowadays nobody is going to use the standard, everybody will try to extend their UI. Okay, so what is the objective? So uh, so I have one example. So what is that example? So example is we will create one UIVB. What is UIVB? UIVB is nothing but user interface building block, which is a group of attributes or a group of elements or uh, entity, whatever you call. So those details will have into this table list, and this table will be associated with the main OVP for, let's say, material. Okay, we will start with material. Then some example we will probably see next week regarding the business partner. Okay, so one by one domain we will see. So what are those fields we need? We need material number, plant details, MRP type, MRP controller, and lot size. So these are all details we need. Okay. So what I have to do? So I created some part, and some part I need to create here. Okay. So we can see. My plan was to create the whole thing, but I could not able to create it completely. So half I have created, half I need to create here. So the first thing is data model, because I need to make available these fields in my data model first. That is my objective. So I will go to the edit data model. Make sure that I'm in S4HANA instance. Okay. Is there any other instance open? Otherwise, I will close it. Okay. So let's focus this week on material. Next week, we will focus on business partners. Okay. So you can see this data model is now activated. By the way, one thing I would like to request. Already I did it, I think multiple times, but again, I would like to categorically mention this. Today afternoon, when I tried to update this data model, I found that this data model has been uh, updated with some custom attribute or custom entity type, whatever it is, but it was not activated. It was the version which was different. Okay, and I found some error as well. I can understand people are trying to do some practice, and you have to do it. There is no doubt about it. But my humble request to everybody: when you are trying to do something, let's say you are trying to add something or you are trying to update something, please save and activate the data model properly. Otherwise, what is going to happen? A good amount of time taken today for me, if I talk about, just to resolve the error which was appearing and then activate this data model. So I have seen people just add the attribute, add the custom attribute, add the custom entity type, but they could not complete the process. So please don't do that. If you see that some errors are happening, then remove it, whatever you have added, and try to activate it. Always, when you leave the system, try to keep the data model activated, and also the staging area to be adjusted. Okay, so these two things at least you please keep in mind. You are you are absolutely okay to enhance the data model according to your whatever you want in order to practice. But the moment you leave, before that, you have to activate the data model. Otherwise, what happens? The person who comes next to you, that person will see a lot of problems. First of all, if I talk about today when I see there was some error, so my first thing was just to resolve the error. Similarly, for BP also you can see same situation. For BP also I can see it has been updated but in the different state. Okay, while you are doing, you may face some error. Try to revert it back. Keep note it down. Whatever you tried, you ask me over the mail. I will probably help you. You mentioned that this is the entity type, this is the attribute I'm going to add it, this is the data element I maintain, but I found this error. Take a screenshot, put it into the mail, revert it back, and activate the data model. And then you leave for the day. Then what is going to happen? So the person who is coming next, at least he can try something, he can play around the system, right? And if your data model is not active, he can't do anything. So this is my humble request to everybody. Okay. So now, so this week I focus on MM. So that's what I need to, anyhow fix it. So next week I will try to see the BP. So now going to the entity type. So what I did, I created some entity types, custom entity types. Let me show. So these are all entity types which I created. One, two, three, four. So these four entity types I have created. So let's talk about one by one. So the first entity type which I created, YMARC1, if you see, so this is nothing but the type 4. What is type 1? In this data model, that is material entity type. Now type 4 I have taken, which is YMARC1, which does not have any data element. That means it is clearly indicating that this entity type is purely an entity type which will have some attribute inside. Okay. And then what is the description of this entity type? That is plant data for material. So basically this is the plant data information. Now if I go to the attribute, so these are all attributes I have added, like the batch details, controlling details, the MRP type, okay, and this detail. So basically these are all attributes which I have added along with the data element. And this is the attribute what we will see here. Material anyhow it's a existing field in this data model. Then plant details. This is the plant is also exists here. Then MRP type, MRP controller. So MRP controller, MRP type, and then lot size. Okay. So that's so these are all details which I have added. Then apart from this, I have also added the other three entity type which is related to the plant data. So you can see that it is having the data element and it is basically one uh, type 3 uh, type 3 entity type. That means whose values are coming from the domain level. And this is basically representing the plant details. And if you see, it is also having one search shell, the standard search shell for T001. So if I show you what is this search shell all about, so in order to access the search shell, you need to go to the transaction SE11. So here is the search cell. So this is the standard search cell. So this is the possible entries for plant. Okay. So this is the search cell I associate with this because this is the plant details entity type. Okay. Then another entity type which I have maintained here, that is also type 3, and this is again entity type as well as an attribute because it is having the data element. So this is nothing but the MRP controller, which is also associated with the MRP controller search help. Okay, and then here this is also one entity type which is type 3. So this is also entity type for type 3, and for this is the MRP type, and this is the search help. Now once you are done, you can also maintain the prefix. So this is the prefix. So why this prefix and package for model enhancement required? So this is something which started from MDG 8.0. Earlier in MDG 6.1, 7.0, it was not needed. So basically, what has happened that if you here you can mention the prefix about whatever the backend table will be generated based on your entry once you activate the data model. Those tables will have the prefix which is ZMDG starting with, and then so the package for customer include. Okay, this is the two things which you can add it. Then I just activate the data model and then adjust the staging area. So adjust the staging area, we all know that AC38 USMD adjust staging. So I'm not going into that transaction again. Already we talked about that. Now move on. Next is once we added the custom. So basically in this example, the why I choose this example. The reason to choose this example is this example will talk about multiple things in a single case. That is how to deal with the custom entity type, how to deal with the custom attribute because this entity also having the attribute. Okay, so that's all. And also in this example, also you can see how to create a complete new UIDB, and also you can see how to deal with the context-based adaptation. So practically speaking, you will see all the activity in a one example. So now go to MDG IMG. Once you activate the data model, go to the generate data model specific structure. So okay, let me display data model and go to the structure. So now by that time, because I have added the prefix as a naming convention and also saved the and activate the data model, so the backend structure will be generated for me. So this is my entity type. I need to give my entity type. Okay, and based on my entity type, I can see like PDF form based. However, PDF form based we talked about like It is not necessary because we are dealing with FPM at this moment, or Fiori, whatever you say. Then mapping of news activity, it is necessary because this is nothing but your, if you want to deal the fields as a reuse mode, then this is necessary to maintain. Then search application, if you want to bring this field in the search application of MDG, then field control is nothing but uh, the business uh, functions, or rather I can say that whatever the different type of bodies we have, or the business scenarios we have, okay, enhancements. So those things, uh, we can use this particular entity type and its relevant attribute. Then field properties, for UI field properties, this will be needed. And then key fields, like for key mapping. Okay, for key mapping, this is necessary. And then data extraction. So if I want to download some information, uh, data extraction activity for synchronization activity or something, so that can be possible there. So these are all, you can see that the prefix by default it will be created because we have already maintained the prefix details in data model and the respective structures. And then click on the generate selected structure. Okay, so once you generate, so already those structures are generated. So then those structure will be updated with the respective attribute. So now if I open one of the detail, so here structures. So this one PP structure. So this is the PP is here. Then you have field control FC. Then field property. Okay. Then this is for the search. So these are all structures. And you can see in this structure, you have those respective details, whatever the details you want, like the attribute details, the MRP type, and MRP controller, then these badge details, etc. And then you have also the plant details and MRP controller, etc. Okay. And this structure is already activated. So this is now a backend structure which is already generated with the necessary details. Once this is done, the next thing which we need to do, that is go to the, select the material, go to the mapping, and in the mapping we need to maintain the entity type. Okay, one thing I forgot to mention, that is the relationship. Go to the data model, go to the relationship. So here the relationship, if you closely observe, what are those relationships I have maintained? The leading relationship is no doubt material. So the first relation is the relation between material and YMARC1, the plant data for material. And this is obviously the leading relationship because material is a leading entity type. Cardinality 1 is to n. Next, Next is this one, which is again uh, the plant details. Okay. Uh, so this YT001W, which is one entity type, and particularly this is a type 3 entity type, which is associated with the type 4. Makes sense? And this is nothing but the qualifying relationship. Okay. So that means these values under MARC1, those attributes, MRP controller, MRP type, mark for deletion, etc., the batch details, they are also dependent on this entity type, which is nothing but indicating the WERKS. Okay, so that is the plant details. This is also the same story. Okay, so another type 3, which is having in a relation with the leading relation. This is also, by the way, type 3. So both are type 3, and they are also in a cardinality of 1 is to n. And similarly, the this YT024D and this YT438A, they are also type 3, which are also associated with this YMARC1. Okay, and again, YMARC1 also depends on them, which is a referencing relation. So this is the relationship part. Now coming to the generate data model, if I continue. Now coming to the mapping. In the mapping, okay, now you see, so this is the entity type, and here I just maintain the reuse mapping functions, which is nothing but mapping of reuse active area, which is the SMT mapping from active area, which is ZMap. This is something which I have created, custom name, and this is the SMT mapping to the active area, which is ZMap by MARC1 to PP. Okay, so this two. Now this is the SMT mapping details. This to PP and to STA. Now this detail, how we maintain in SMT mapping. So first thing is, let me copy this one. So go back. So my generated data model specific structure is done. Now I will go to create and edit mapping. Now in create and edit mapping, still you can see I'm still in data model, not even on UI. So you can understand why data model is so important. Because in data model, the maximum detailing I have to give. Not only just create the entries, also having relationships and also having the proper mapping, right? So now the first mapping which I need to create, which I already created, that is ZMap YMARC1 to PP. Now, in earlier session, during the data model, whatever the mapping we have seen, that was with the standard data, standard mapping for whether it is material or business partner, whatever it is. But this is purely a custom one. Okay, so just one description I have given, and then maintain the mapping step. So what are those steps I need to maintain? First of all, the mapping name I need to give. So this is something which I have given MDGBS map YMARC1. Description, plan data for material. Now coming to the source structure and the target structure. Now what is the source structure? Source structure is nothing but the PP structure, which just now we got it from generated structure. This is the one. Okay. So this structure details I have provided here. And the target structure is nothing but which table level it is going. If it is a MARA, then MARA. If it is a MARC, then MARC. So this, because it is a MARC table, so it will go to a MARC target structure. Then change structure, it will be X. So if you remember, for while doing the reuse mode, we were for material MARA. So we had something called MARA X. So this is for basically the SMT mapping. Okay. And then we also need to maintain the change structure key exists. So in the change structure, there should be a key field that should be exist. How you maintain that? You can change the key structure. Okay, please select it. Already I maintained that. So if you see here, so I maintain the key field is nothing but the material number. Okay. So this is the information which you need to maintain. Normally in standard case, you need not to bother about it because it will be automatically appear. Now coming to the detailing. Now in the detailing, first go to the transformation, and then this is your field mapping. Select this, and under the field mapping, we have maintained those attributes which were part of YMARC 1. So this is the source structure, which is a PP structure, and this is the field, and this is the source field details. Okay, and now you can see in target structure and source structure. So here you can see those fields: Z batch control, then MRP type, and then the other details. And you can see it is already ticked. That means they are mapped. Now, so once this mapping complete, you should go to the next one, which also I created, that is USTL. Here, the mapping step again, you can give your name, but I maintain this. Then plant data for material. Then again the source structure. So the source structure is a standard source structure for MARC, which I used. And the target structure is nothing but the PP. Okay. Here it is not required to change any structure or any structure key exists. It is not necessary. It was only necessary for the TVS step. Then select it and then go to the details, transformations. You can add it from here, whatever the value you want to add. And this is the again the same set of fields which maintained here. But here the source structure is followed this MARC structure. And this is for MRP controller, MRP type, material number, plant, batch details, etc. And again, if you see the target system here, this is the details and which is already mapped. Okay. So now this is done. So create and edit mapping is done. So you can activate your data model and then adjust the staging. Once this is done, the next thing which you need to do, that is come to the UI part. So now go back to this screen. Now there are two things we have to understand. One is first, I need to create this table structure. And the second thing is this table structure I need to add with the main screen of material. So there are two tasks we need to carry. So first thing what I need to do, that is, let's go to ACAT. ACAT is nothing but the object navigator. And then uh, select the WebIntro component, and then component configuration, and select this FPM list UIDB template. Why list? So another day I was talking about. So basically there are uh, uh, four type of UI component we have. One is the form component. Second one is the table component. Third one is the tabbed component, and the fourth one is the composite. Composite is nothing but the the combination of form plus table, and sometimes we call table as a list. So don't get confused with list. List means nothing but table. So here, the first thing is I need to prepare the table UIVB template. That means this portion, this table part we need to create. Okay. So double click on this, go to the start configurator. Okay. So now this is the standard configuration ID. So what I will do, I will copy this. Okay. And then I will mention as ZZ underscore YMARC1. Okay. So this is for plant data for material. So this is the standard one which copied to this custom one. So I will, you always need to give the project package. Here I am just changing it in a local object. Okay. Then continue with display. Hmm. Now you can see, now I have only two things. One is preview, one is the this section, this list UIDB schema, toolbar schema, etc. The first thing what I need to do, that is click on the attribute section. Wait a minute. Uh, where is the refresh? Component configuration, and then here it is. So double click, start configurator. So now this is a custom configuration. So now let me click on change. Okay. So here go to the general settings, feeder class. So now first I need to give the feeder class. By default, you can see this feeder class is appearing, but this is not the feeder class which will work. So what is the feeder class I need to give? The standard feeder class for list, that is CL underscore, yes, this one, CL underscore MDG VS mat feeder class. feeder for lists. Okay, nor for form, nor for composite, nor for tagged. It is for list. So that's what I need to go for list. If it is a form, then I need to use the another feeder class, that is CL MDG BS mat feeder form. If it is composite, then CL MDG BS mat feeder composite. If it is a tab, then CL MDG BS mat feeder tab. Likewise. These are all feeder class. So now, first of all, what is feeder class? Feeder class is like, this is nothing but UIBB, which we are trying to create. So this UIBB will have certain fields. So will those fields will also have certain values. Okay. So and also some logic also. So those values, logics, everything, how it will be controlled? So it will be controlled via this feeder class, the backend feeder class. So every UIBB will have the backend feeder class. Now, one question which will come, that whether I have, let's say 20 UIBBs. Now this 20 UIBB will have a 20 different feeder class. Not necessary, because one feeder class may have, feeder class is nothing but a global class, which we can access through AC24. This is a global class basically, which will have a certain methods, certain logic inside the methods, etc. Now, there can be a possibility that one feeder class may have a certain methods which can manage or control more than one UIDD. So in that case, it can be, you can see that some of the UIDDs will have the same feeder class at the backend. That means that feeder class can able to offer the functionalities for the different UIDDs. That's what it is there. Otherwise, we have to create the different ones. So like here in this case, I'm just creating this feeder class which is having this detail. Okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm using the standard one. Down the line, if I need any additional logic or something, that I will add on with this feeder class. But I will be using the standard feeder class. Now the application. So this is nothing but application building block ID. So you just give something called MDG underscore material. Then node name is nothing but the table name. Table is MARC table. Okay. Node means nothing but table. Entity type. Entity type is YMARC1. Okay. I think this is fine. So what is that? By the way, this is the feeder class parameters. So feeder class will also, like this data will go to which table? This data is associated with which entity type? That feeder class also should know, right? So that is what the information we are providing to the feeder class. Okay. Now the general settings. So this is like a area. Okay. So this is the title. This is the selection mode is automatic. Even enable event on all selection. So that is ticked. Column count. column count 0, selection to be changed, uh, that is auto, export disable, list width is 100%, okay, rendering style table, I think that is sufficient, so just save it, okay, one more time, just cross check the feeder class, okay, the feeder class is reflecting correctly. So this part is done. Now I'm going to create the those details. So now I'm going to create the element. So what are those elements we have? Uh, First thing is I need to go to UI VB schema. Click on column. Now this is a very challenging. Like it is having all the whole entire list. Now we need only this 4 5 fields. Like first I need the material. And the problem is it does not have any advanced search option, if I correctly remember. Let's see. Yes, it does not have a the advanced search option. Okay. So this is the material. Here is the material. Okay. So first I need to select the material. Click on OK. So the material input field. Then next is, so what was the next? Plant. This part is a little time taking activity. So here, this is the plant. Uh, Okay. Now what next? That is MRP type. So MRP type means uh, mm, MRP type means MARC T438. I think it will be uh, DI. Okay. DISMM MRP type. DISMM MRP type. Okay. Okay, we can take only these three example, otherwise it is very time taking. Okay. So we have taken material, plant and MRP type. Okay. So similarly, we need to add uh, like MRP controller and lot size. But okay, fine. At least these three is enough. So I'm adding this. Now, one more thing we need to see. We have one delete option. So that means if we want, we can delete this. So in that case, what we need to do that is go to the toolbar schema, click on toolbar element and delete. You can see the button for delete. So this is the delete button. Similarly, if you want to create something, you can have an insert button. If you want to update something, you have update button. Okay. So similarly, this is the delete button. And here, okay, the tool tip is tool TIPs button. Okay. I think that is all here, and you can see the preview. First is a material, then plant, then MRP type, and the delete button. And the heading will come as a plant data for material. Okay, makes sense. Okay. Now this name we need to keep it with us. Okay. So now I can close this. Okay. So now let me go to ACAT again, and now go to the package. So we have something called MDG mat for material. Okay, so sub package MDG mat UI for material UI, then WebDyn Pro, then FPM application, then MDG mat OVP overview plan, then application configuration, and then this is the base. Now you can ask me what is that OVP, then 0303H, 0404H. Normally this is the base one. Okay, so this is the like those UIVVs are the base UIV. Okay, irrespective of any version you see, those UIVVs will be there. Now these are all over the period of time based on different versions. Those FPM applications has been available. Like initially, if I talk about, if I correctly remember, that MDG 6.1 there was only 03 and 04. Then in 7.0 it was 3, 4 and 5. Then 8 it was 3, 4, 5, 6 likewise. Then similarly 7, 8, 9, these are all available from 9.0 onwards. Okay. So mainly this is for create, update activities, and this H is nothing but for hierarchies. So if I want to create any hierarchies, I can use those hierarchy applications, UI applications. So I will go with the baseline. Okay. So double click here, start configurator. So display, go to the layout section. Okay. Now coming to the first is the adaptation section. So you can see this is the adaptation BS mat, which is for the, now this is the standard adaptation, which is you see in the first line. This is the standard because by default it will be there. Now basically the second adaptation I have created earlier, but I made one mistake, that is instead of continuing with this adaptation, I create another custom component. Okay, so that custom component was never necessary. So anyway, so I need to remove this and I will create from fresh. Okay, so now what, so this is the standard one. So this is not something which I created. So now click on add. So now I'm going to create the adaptation. Adaptation means I'm going to say that irrespective of all the actions, irrespective of all the change requests, irrespective of all the material types and workflow steps, I'm going to have a separate adaptations. I'm just giving some name. Okay. So this is the web intro component details. So I'm just saving it in a local object, but you should save in the respective project package. So that is what I need to every time tell this. Okay, so this is the adaptation which appeared. So now close this and again go to the start configurator. Display layout. Okay, so adaptation. Okay, and then continue to edit. Okay, so I need to scroll down here. First, go to overview page schema. Okay, now select the material section. So we have two sections. One is the change request section and the material section. So first we need to select the material section. Okay. Now click on UIDB and then select the list component. Why? Because with this list component, the one which we created earlier, that we need to associate with. Okay. So click on this icon, which is for attributes. So basically, you can see there are three major icons on top of the screen. So the extreme right one, which you see, this is for attribute and general settings. This is the one where I can provide the detailing about the attributes. Then the middle one is related to the navigations and repositories. So I can see the how many basic screens I have and everything. And the extreme left hand side, which you see, that is the adaptations. Okay, so this is the adaptation which you can see. Now, so the component name is APM list UIBB and the window is list window Now the configuration ID is this one. Okay, and the title is uh, plant data for material. Okay, anything else? Now go to the general settings. Show more information. So here it is edit mode read only. Okay. Okay. Now save it. So this is the information. So I basically associate with this the list UIBB which I created earlier. Okay, with the material section. So this part is done. Now what next? Okay, now the next part is go to the where schema. So what is happening now? Before I go to the where schema, just to give you understanding. So in the overview page schema, so basically I have created a new UIBB section along with the existing one. Okay, so you can see this is our UIBB section, which is associated with the existing one, and that is to under the material section. Okay, so now when I go to the where schema, why I closed this, because while I was doing these navigations, I found that by mistake one entry was misplaced. So, but I don't want to save that data. So that's what I just close the screen and I'm just starting from beginning. So the default value will be as it is. Okay. So now, select adaptation. Scroll down. Just see the overview page schema. Okay, so this is here. Now go to the where schema. So what I need to do now, I need to do the varying. Varying between what? Varying between the existing UIBB and the new one. Okay, so that varying part I need to do. So click on edit. Okay, now click on attribute. So go to the general settings. Okay, so component is FPM. Okay, here it is. I can see my component is visible here. Okay, now what next? Next is the I need to expand the screen. So that's what I need to collapse this navigation and repository part. Yeah. So now the source component. Source component is this one, FPM form UIBB MDG BS mat material form. Because my source is form, this list is associating with the main form. So here the port type is lead selection, port identification. Port identification will be, I think, Mara. Because the basic is material, right? Okay. And the connector class. Connector class is a default connector. Okay. So now just save this and then also collapse this attribute. And okay, one thing I forgot to do. Uh, you know what? What is that? In the UIVB, the list UIVB template, one thing I forgot to do, that is uh, continue. Sorry, not this one. Hang on, hang on. This is not. This is the one. Start configuration. Then display. Okay, we have material, plant, and MRP type. So here, one thing we need to do, that is whatever the element we will select here, we need to select them and click on this attribute and general settings. Mm, Go to the attribute section. Click on edit. So here, the FPM event ID we need to select as a round trip. What is the meaning of round trip? Round trip means that every time we add some value in the field input, what is happening, that the whole page gets refreshed at the back end. So that is the event which trigger, which is nothing but the round trip. So normally we will be using round trip or the standard action. Okay, and suggest values, because it is a it is an input field. So save it. So similarly, whatever the component we have, those component we need to do this. So now I'm doing for plant, round trip, and suggest values. Okay. Next is MRP type. Okay. This is the activity which was needed to do. Now let me go back. Okay. Let me close this and in this activity. Now I can see whatever I have added. Here, if I scroll down, see the extreme always I need to come to this adaptation because my changes are within this adaptation. Okay, here we go. So you can see this is my details. So now if I select this entry, so I can see this is the varying details. So now one more thing I need to see, so overview page schema, and the plant data. So this is the UIVB which we created. Now this UIVB, when I get into the configure UIVB means the when I want to see this UIVB layout. So how this UIVB layout look like? So this is how it look like. So it is having material, plant, and MRP type. These three details as a different column and the delete button. Okay, so that is what we are looking for. So save it. Okay, let's see. Okay, 500 internal server errors. So basically, one exception got caught. Mm, So this is a kind of a governance API which got called, but it is not very clear. The error is whether for this change or something else. Okay, but I don't think so. Whatever I have added, there is any error or something. Because if there is any error that could have uh, caught during our implementation only. Okay, but I can look into this error probably offline. Okay, and I can also see that one customized component which has been created earlier, whether that creates some problem. However, I think I have deleted that, but I need to check that as well. Okay, but at least what we have created in this example so far, that is, I'm quite sure this is okay. Okay, I will do one thing probably. This is S4 system, so we have one more that is 7.0. So I will try to create the same example in 7.0 and will try to execute at the same time. And also I will try to see this error. Okay, but I'm quite sure that the example which we created, that is absolutely fine. It has nothing to do with this error. Okay, so but at least we have seen. So if this is my final result, then how I need to develop my UI. Okay. So in this example, what are those things we have learned? We have learned multiple things. One is uh, in terms of data model point of view, like how to create the custom entity type, how to put the custom attribute inside the custom entity type, then how to create the custom mapping for staging to PP and PP to the active area. So that is one thing. And then how to maintain the generate structure, particularly when you have the custom mapping. Then the next thing is UI part. So in UI part, first is we created separately one UIBB with this necessary fields that is in a table based manner, in a list based manner, and then try to incorporate this particular details into our main form, which is a material form. Okay, so these two things, and also during in order to do that, we also deal with the adaptation. So basically, it's not like the standard case we have used. Rather, we use the custom adaptation for material which we created. Okay, and under this we have maintained our uh, under the material selections our UIBB, and also we have learned that how to deal with the varying when we have a new UIBB in place. Okay, the varying part, varying schema, and also particularly when just to create this UIBB. So how to deal with the different things like how to maintain the round trip, for the events for every entity which we are adding and the other designs. So this is one compact example which will give you a complete view of how to deal with this entire UI, uh, how to add enhancement of UI, particularly how to add the details of attribute, entity types, and the buttons. We also created the buttons like a delete button. Okay. So everything is in one example. So any question you have, unfortunately, I'm unable to show the execution because of this error. I need to catch up with this error offline. And also, as I just mentioned, the same thing I will try to replicate in 7.0, and I will see how it works, and I'm quite sure it will work. And second, because it has been a tested one, so it's not something which is never tested. And the second thing is the the customized component which I have created earlier. So that I need to also cross check, and I will see whether this error is happening for this or something else. Okay. So any question, anything? So
Yes,
today we talk about, yes, yes, tell me.
I have two, Aditya, to say I have two questions. So through the adaptation,
Okay.
just now we have created the separate custom UIV and added in that our standard material schema. So through the adaptation, we can add, if we add the change request type, so that uh, custom it will visual for that change request type only. If we added the change request type in adaptation, right now where it's a star is given, it,
Yes, right now, when I place star means whatever the change request type I have, that will be accepted for material. Okay, and but if you want to specific that no, I want only for ZMAX01. So then this, instead of star in the adaptation, you just need to maintain ZMAX01 or YMAX01, whatever. Okay. So then it will be specifically for when you trigger the change request type ZMAX01 or YMAX01, then only this UIBB, the custom UIBB which we have added, that will be reflected for you. Similarly for material type, if you mention the material type, let's say the sample material or FERT or any other material type, then it will be categorically when you select that particular material type, that will be visible for that. But as I mentioned star, that irrespective of any material type, it will be available. So that is the meaning of this.
so depends on like if suppose we have the more than two custom UIV, so we have to create a two separate adaptation, or it's one adaptation. It's
No,
fine if
no,
they.
no. Single, single adaptation. Sorry, not adaptation. It is a adaptation. This is a
Sorry,
single
adaptation.
adaptation. Yeah, and then you can add whatever the UIBB you want to add. So there can be two, three, four, five, whatever you can
Okay,
add.
so if there is a different logic, that means for the UIBB type one A is the request type for this, and the UI type
Yes,
B.
definitely. Then,
Then in that case we have to
yeah,
two
then
adaptation.
let's say for an example, the first adaptation you want for create material. So you mentioned ZMAX01, which is for create material. Then you say that this is the UIBB which will be reflected. Now there are one more UIBB which you want for change, not for create, not for any other. Then what you need to do, you need to create one more adaptation and there you need to provide the change request type, let's say zmat02 for material change. So then there you need to bring the another UIVB which is for needed for the change or extend. Okay, this is how it will be done.
One last question. In the UI, we have added the FPM button delete. So whenever we select the data from the, so it will delete the data from the UIVB or backend, or we have to do for deleting the data
It will
from
be
the
delete the data. It will be delete the data only from UIVB, not from the backend, because this is the button for UIVB, not for the whole backend process. Yes. If you
So
see
what is
here,
the
so here the toolbar schema, and here I just need to add this toolbar element as a delete. So delete already we have used, so you cannot see delete anymore. Now if you want to create or insert, so you can use this FRW insert or update.
so deleting the records from the backend? We have to do some separate logic. We have to I mean somewhere we have to do that reuse a class is written, from that it will be happen. So deleting the data from the backend, how will
Deleting
now suppose from
the
here
data from the backend.
now here we have mentioned the material plant. In the UI we have entered the material plant and MRP type. So now we have deleted the this record. It will updated in the backend. In once everything will be processed, your type is the final activated.
Okay, I understand. Okay. Okay. Let's say for an example, so you have let's say two different material, two different plant, and two different MRP type. Okay. Now one record you want to delete, for an example.
Correct.
Okay. So you delete it. So then what happens once you delete? So this delete button is only the deletion from UI. It is not deletion from your backend database table. Okay. So what is going to happen? So once you delete from you apply the delete the data, whatever the data you select. First of all, you need to select the row, and then that data will be deleted from this UI. Then you need to submit it from the requester side. Then it will go to the necessary workflow steps. Okay, so it will go to the verifier or approver, etc. And then in the final step, when it will reach, what is going to happen that during the activation, as this is the activation means what? Activation means whatever the data you have in your UI, that will be activated or that will be override. If you are changing the data with the existing material or existing vendor, that will be override. So what is going to happen if you had previously two records and you delete one and then activate? So once the activation complete, so the data will be override and only one record will be available in your table, the other record will be removed. So how it will be removed? Because we maintain this SMT mapping. So we need not to do anything from our end. So the moment we have that submission of the data is going to the staging table. So from staging table, it will move, means once all the approvals done, it will move from staging to the active table. And while moving the active table, it will be override the data whatever we have, if it is the existing record. And if it is a new record, then it will be created newly that entry. Okay. So for that, we need not to write any different logic for that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so today whatever the example I have given, that is related to the material. Now the next session, what I will do, first thing is next session I will try to see this, show this execution. Okay, and then the next thing which we will start with, that is related to the BP. So BP, how we can similarly, more or less same story, but the domain is different. So in BP, we will see how again we can add the entity type, attributes, and what are the other things, UIBB, how to deal with UIBB as well. Okay. So same way we will do the things. Okay.
Hi Adit, Ashit this side. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
So
Tell
Adit,
me.
I have two questions. First, this is a only first one-time activities. This is during implementation, or future in BAU mode we can add new field, customized field. So we can sequence all the steps we required, or only reuse mode or SMT maybe we can done and we can not require any UI BB activities.
MDG, as I just mentioned in a earlier sessions, like MDGs are having the reusability technique. Okay, so not only MDG, even any module you see, whether it is a CRM or SRM or above, so everywhere we have a reusability technique available. Now, whatever we are doing, this is it cannot be a one-time activity. Yes, first time implementation, once you have done, then next time if you want to add, like another gentleman who was asking the question, like let's say uh, I want to add based on the different change request type, the different UIBB. Then initially it may not be your part of implementation, but down the line when it will go for support, you may have such kind of requirement. Then what you need to do, you need to accordingly enhance this. So you need to probably create one more adaptation, or let's say edit this adaptation only based on your requirement, of course, and then adapt whatever you want. Whether you want a new UIBB or a new button or anything you want. So obviously, it is a reusable, and at any point of time you can adapt new functionality, or adapt a new UIBB, new adaptation, new buttons. These are all things you can add.
Okay. So
Okay.
you have any sequence document? Because lots of sequence and that's a maybe is a different table in like
Today,
yeah, go
today
ahead.
whatever I have done, yeah. So today whatever I have done, you can find it out this document in the drive. Okay. So in drive it is already available. Uh, Particularly if you check the data model folder, you can figure it out. Okay. And UI folder also, if possible, I will also place the same file in UI folder just for easy to get it. Okay. So that sequence, you can get it from there. And like apart from that, let's say for an example, if you want to add a adaptation, then adaptation for what? Adaptation means whether you want to add a new adaptation or an existing adaptation you want to change. Whether you need a new UIBB or the existing UIBB you want to change. So that is depends on your requirement basically. But if it is a new UIBB and the same way you have to do it, then probably you can follow the process which I talked about today. Okay. So those documents are already there.
Okay, Adit, thank you.
Okay, fine then. So let me close the session today.